Ana Jansen is a 22-year-old artist born in Massachusetts and raised in Brazil. She's currently living in Dallas, Texas. Ana has been involved with music since she was 5 years old when a friend of the family gave her an acoustic guitar as a gift. Over time, her passion grew and she dove into different instruments like electric guitar and drums, and also singing. In 2020, she decided it was time for her to go back to actually making music and started vocal coaching sessions again, deciding to join Berklee College of Music and continue working on her craft. From Ana, you can expect a fresh sound, mixing alternative pop with Brazilian music and a lot of good and chill vibes. Since November 18th of 2022, she's been releasing one song a week on all streaming platforms. So we are conducting an interview with her to chat about her experiences and processes.
Woo!
Sorry.
My parents are from São Paulo. I grew up going every year.
Okay.
Yeah, where in Brazil are you from again?
Belo Horizonte.
Love to find like more Brazilian Americans in music.
Yeah. That's actually one of the reasons that I decided to really start making music, bring in the Brazilian references, because I don't feel like there's a lot of that.
Who or what has most influenced your music and artistic style?
I feel like it really started with that Brazilian band Lagoon. When I started making music, I wanted to make music that sounded a little bit like that. I watched the documentary of Shawn Mendes. I'm a huge fan, and I watched that and I just thought like it was so inspiring. I was like, bro, yes, I mean, I feel like, I see myself doing this.
Specifically, like, how has your Brazilian background influenced your music? Like,
Yeah.
what are kind of like the sounds you're pulling from?
So my most recent song that I would say with the most like Brazilian influence is Caipirinha. Caipirinha is a Brazilian drink, so I just wanted to create something very Brazilian. And actually the most influences for that song didn't even come like from a Brazilian artist necessarily. There's this song from an American artist, called Thames. The song's called Found, and also Billy Bossa Nova. So those was kind of like were influences. Just like MPB in general, there's this band as well called Charlie Brown Jr. from Brazil that is just great. That's kind of like rock. It's awesome. New MPB stuff as well. So just like different bands and different styles, even like Brazilian funk, different things from the Brazilian culture and Brazilian sounds. It doesn't necessarily connect to one artist specifically. You know what I mean? It's just like I try to get the ideas and just like what sounds like Brazil to me, and bring that into my music.
Is there anything like that you've been listening to recently, especially from like emerging artists, that you want to highlight as something that you've been enjoying?
There's one artist that I feel like it's really emerging right now, that is Lizzie McAlpine. I've been obsessed with her for like the past 6 months probably. I've been really into Brazilian funk recently. I've been trying to explore a little bit more. So like artists that for some reason I've never listened to before, I'm just trying to like get into it right now. Like Frank Ocean, Childish Gambino, Phoebe Bridgers, some artists like that.
So how long like have you been making music, like writing and performing? Kind of like to recap.
So like I started playing the guitar when I was like 5 actually, and I started getting into electric guitar when I was like 9, and then drums when I was like 10. When I was like 11, it was my dad's 50th birthday, and I played a song for him on the guitar and I sang, but I was 11, like I was a kid, you know what I mean? Like I didn't really care if I sounded that good. And my cousin told me like with these exact words, like, you kind of sound okay. And I was like, okay, I mean, I guess I can sing, you know what I mean? After that, like, I guess a couple of years later, I got into like vocal lessons, and I started a YouTube channel. I wrote like my first songs after my first breakup that smashed my fucking heart. So that's how I got started at that. But it was really like, I was just playing around, honestly. And I actually had to quit like the YouTube channel back then because of school, and then I got depressed and it was a whole thing. So I stopped with music for a while, and then I got back at it. I really wanted to start getting back at it around 2020, like during the pandemic, and then I watched that documentary, the Shawn Mendes documentary, and I just decided to get back to it. So I got back to the vocal lessons. I decided to sign up for Berklee. I got in, playing the guitar more often and taking songwriting more seriously. I took one class of songwriting, and then the professor actually became my mentor. I just started looking at everything like more professionally, and then I started releasing the songs, and I haven't gotten really like into performing like my actual shows, more focused on like creating my audience before getting out there.
That makes sense. There's kind of nothing worse as an artist than like trying to do a show and not having very many people show up for it.
Yeah, and I guess like in the era that we are in right now, like the money that I would actually have to put into, you know, live performing right now and paying the band and the time that I would invest in it, I just feel like it makes more sense for me to just be on TikTok, you know what I mean? And be just, you know, create a name for myself.
Part of the joy of like live performance is that connection with the fans. And I think that social media and especially TikTok have really opened that connection that you get from a live show up to a wider audience than just who can attend the live show. Especially in this day and age, like when we see how many artists have been coming out lately about how destructive touring is for their health, both physical and mental, it makes a lot of sense to focus on things that are not as taxing.
Yeah, I feel like it's a different type of connection as well. Like when you're live performing, you're connecting to that audience on a different way that you are when you're creating content. And it's not saying that one is better or anything like that, but it's like when you're live performing, you're letting them connect to you in like a experience form, really connect to your music and how you really perform really, you know, your songs and how you put your heart out into those songs and things like that. Versus like watching you on social media is more like, I feel like it's more people that's really into you and that's really, they're just like fans of you at that point, not necessarily of your music. Like you could just start, you know, recording videos telling people how you're feeling and like random people would just like be interested in that. Being on TikTok is a way of like getting people to be fans of you for you, and plus they can also listen to your music and push that, and one thing can kind of like feed the other.
And I think we as like fans and music listeners expect a lot of access from artists, and yeah, it's not just about the music. They often want to connect with you as a person.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that I struggle with because like I feel that I'm pretty like authentic, but when it comes to recording videos, I'm always like kind of like overthinking or trying to do something that other people are doing because it's working for them. But I just decided to, you know, honestly, like, fuck it. I'm just gonna basically do vlogs. Yeah, just like being myself, record vlogs. You know, this is my life as a songwriter, as an artist.
Your songs and the music itself, how do you feel that's kind of changed over, you know, that whole period you're talking about from like high school when you first started writing and then to like now when you picked it back up?
Funny enough, my videos that were the most like viewed, they were acoustic versions of songs that people just didn't really create versions for it, you know what I mean? So it was like rap, Brazilian funk, Brazilian country actually. So yeah, those were the videos that I posted and that got the most hits, and that was kind of like what I was listening. In terms of like making music, I feel like I've always just been really into pop acoustic, like kind of like folk, bedroom pop of some sorts. I guess I always kind of like mix, you know, genres since always, but I feel like getting into music and studying music, I just got a little bit more adventurous and I started like listening to smaller artists, but just like exploring artists like that, you know, artists that people don't really know, being open to, you know, like listening to Frank Ocean, R&B, something that I didn't really listen back then that I'm getting into right now.
Do you have a favorite song you've written?
I'm very proud of Caipirinha, for the way that I brought in the Brazilian elements into the song. But in terms of like sound, if it was like Blurred Polaroid Pictures, if that was another artist's song, that would, you know, that would probably like most likely be in my playlist. Like it's a song that I would really enjoy listening to it. Yeah, the thing with my songs is like it's really growth. If you listen to my first songs, like it just sounds, some of them just don't sound good at all. So everything is like, it's a process, you know, and in every song I feel like I'm able to work on things better and better.
Do you want to talk a bit about like what inspired you to start doing this release cadence?
When I was having like those mentoring lessons with my songwriting professor, he was really like, for some reason in my mind, it just made so much sense for me to like keep writing songs and then find the perfect song and then get all my savings and put all my money into that one song and just like pray that it works. I think he was exaggerating, honestly, but he was like, you shouldn't be doing this at this point. You should be putting out like one song a week. He meant, you know, you should just like be putting out music constantly and not worrying about numbers and not like looking to spend that much money right now. You just need to get better. But when he said like you should be, you know, releasing one song weekly, I was like, yeah, sure. I'm gonna do that, bet, you know what I mean? And then I was having a meeting with a photographer from Dallas, actually, that I was gonna do a photo shoot. Um, and she was like, yeah, actually, that's a great idea. I mean, if you did for like 26 weeks, you would have 26 songs out, and that's more than most independent artists. I was like, that's true. Okay, I'm gonna do for 26 weeks. No, you know what? I'm gonna do for 30 weeks. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that's kind of like how the project was born. And when I'm writing a song, um, sometimes I'm just like, I just allow it to be bad, and I just make myself aware of why I think that song was bad and what I could have done better. So the next time when I come to write a song, I usually have that in mind, you know? So like, okay, so I made that mistake on my previous song. Maybe this time, you know, I should pay more attention to it. I'm learning to like see the things that I did good, you know, and that I liked as well, because that's, you know, super important.
What do you think have been the results so far of that?
The main idea of it was really like for personal improvement and just like getting better as an artist, and also just keeping in mind that like the only way that I'm sure that nothing's ever gonna happen to my songs, and no songs will go viral or anything like that, if is, you know, if I don't put them out. I was very concerned with like not getting numbers and things like that, but as time goes by, like I find different ways and different avenues, and I find out more stuff about like the music industry that I could try and different strategies, you know. So it's just been like a time for learning for me and putting songs out. When somebody goes into my profile, I already have like 30 other songs for them to listen. One thing that I wanted to say, oh yeah, there's this expression in Portuguese, that actually it rhymes in Portuguese. In English it sounds weird, but it's done is better than perfect. Um, feito
Yeah.
melhor que perfeito.
I think that done rather than perfect is like something that like a lot of people, especially like creative people, tend to struggle with.
And I feel like I just don't struggle with that because I need to get the songs done and just kind of like send that to the producer, and that's pretty much it. I just kind of like, I just, you know, sometimes like I listen to some of my songs and I'm like, bro, I could have definitely like sang that differently. I could have definitely like used a different word. I could have definitely done this song a little bit different, but I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? In the future, I can like re-release it, or yeah, I mean, just go with it. And the good thing is I usually, so how it goes with the producer is I send a like a reference track to them. He creates the beat, so when he sends the beat back to me, I usually like I get a chance to like listen to the song again that I wrote, you know, the lyrics and everything. And if I see something that I feel like it's okay, this needs to be changed, like it sounds bad, then I change it, you know, like otherwise I just roll with it.
Have you been able to pitch farther out than a week before each song? Because I know normally Spotify doesn't let you pitch the next release until the previous one is out. So I was just
Yeah.
curious about that, how that's worked for you.
Yeah, it's been a mess, honestly, especially because for some reason, like all the songs got kind of like late. So
Yeah.
sometimes it gets to Spotify after the 7 days. So I just kind of like, I just pitch it whenever it's there,
Yeah.
which means that I don't really get any placements because it's like too little time. One thing that they've been doing actually that I've been noticing, they've been getting like some of my older songs and putting in like the, not the release radar, but the Discover Weekly.
I imagine that constant activity has just been helping you get, you know, a few more monthly followers. So if someone's been listening to you, they might be like, okay, let's pull then Anna's music and it's like older music into their Discover Weekly.
So once you complete the project, what's the next plan?
Keep putting music out is still like very important for me. But I want to do it monthly. What I've been thinking of doing is do like another kind of like 6 months project. I'm thinking of getting like 5 of my songs, kind of like divide them in groups and create EPs. Because just like I'm trying to, you know, go different routes and see, you know, what I can get in different playlists, you know, within Spotify, and just kind of like play around with it. Yeah, kind of like just get, because I feel like different songs that I've written are on they have similar stories. I have some songs that I released that I don't really like and that I'm kind of like embarrassed. So I'm even like probably gonna create like an EP, like songs I wish I haven't released. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
That
Just
would be
go with it.
really, really funny. Because yeah, you got to imagine that like for most artists, there are songs that they look back on and go, that wasn't my favorite. I mean, but as we've seen with the internet, the more you try to erase something, the more that people are going to share it because the internet's
Yeah.
spiteful like that. So the idea of kind of turning that on its head and being like, these are the ones that I would
Yeah, that I
not do
hate, you know,
again.
feel free to laugh at me, whatever. Do what you may, you know what I mean?
this concept of like really embracing it and creating an EP around like these are the songs I'm not a fan of anymore. You won't hear them in a show. I think that's like a really fun and exciting idea that like I don't really see artists do.
I swear to God, like every person in the industry that I talk with, they're like, be authentic, you know, like be who you
Yeah.
are, do whatever
Yeah.
you want to do, and that's it. So like, okay, fine, you know, I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want to do, and that's it. Like, I don't know, I'm just trying to like get a little bit more loose with the idea of what I'm doing creatively and just actually allowing myself to be creative, you know, because I feel like although we are in a creative industry, I feel like people limits their creativity to the actual music and not, you know, like not to strategies and different things.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
artists can get so hung up on like, oh, well, the numbers are the best on this song. And so even though it's not the song that I like the most or that feels the most authentic to me, I'm going to keep trying to make stuff like this song or promoting this song. At least for me, the lyrics and the authenticity of the music is so strongly like what matters to me and what I
Yeah.
connect with, that like if you lose that authenticity, you're gonna lose a lot of people who aren't gonna be interested in listening to something that doesn't mean anything.
No, I definitely agree. I feel like a lot of people kind of like lose themselves in the industry because of that as well. Yeah, I feel like promoting a song it's fine, but like when you start to get really hung up on making music because, you know, of numbers of what sells the most and things like that. Actually, when I first started releasing not releasing, but writing music, I was really like watching videos, what songs are the most relatable? And of course, like the number one songs everywhere is just like breakup songs. And I was in a relationship for I don't know how many years back then, and I was like, how the fuck am I gonna write about this? You know what I mean? What Comes Next? That was the first song that I released, that I wrote actually, that I actually had something to say. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So from that day on, and from that song on, I just kind of like learned how to get my experiences. And even like if I want to write about a, now I can write about a breakup song, but um, even if I wanted to write about a song about like getting married, I can kind of like create a perspective and a story. Like I can write about my parents' marriage. I can write about my friend's parents' marriage, and just kind of like with my own perspective, you know. I feel like when you kind of like you get into it, you're able to do these things creatively, but if you don't want to do it, also like don't, because
Yeah.
that's how you like fuck up your mental health, and you kind of like start hating making music and performing because you're doing things that you really don't want to and that really aren't you.
You'd mentioned a producer that you work with a lot. Do you have anyone else do you like collaborate a lot with, or even that producer? Like, how'd you come about working with him?
You know, from the beginning, I always told him that I kind of like I wanted to do American music, but with Brazilian influences.
Mhm.
And he's an engineer as well. He graduated here in the US, so he really knew, he really just like got what I, you know, what I was trying to say like from day one, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
um with What Comes Next, I think he did a really good job kind of like making it sound a little bit like Lagoon, but also pop. And then on the and towards the end of the song, we have kind of like a bridge outro kind of thing that is just have this really Brazilian feel. One thing that I really want to do like moving forward, as soon as I kind of like have a budget, also, is just work with Brazilians here in the US, so Brazilian producers, other Brazilian songwriters, Brazilian creative directors, so just like people that understand the culture and the country kind of to help me um envision, you know, everything that I want to do. But I definitely, you know, I want to build my team currently, but in the future with, you know, more Brazilians for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. It was all really interesting.
Thank you so much for like having me in this almost a podcast interview kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, guys. Have a great week.
Yeah. You too.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.